So looking at number 1, for these we have to follow our order of operations. So what do I need to do first? Subtract. So I do the parentheses first. So 6 minus 1 is 5. So I have 5 times 2 times 5. So since I'm just left with multiplication now, I just work from left to right. So it's 5 times 2, 10, and 10 times 5, 50. So my answer is 50. Number 3. Again, I have to follow my order of operations. I have to do the parentheses first. But in the parentheses, I have to do the exponent first. So what's 1 to the 3rd power? 1. And what's 1 times 2? 2. So I have 6 divided by 2. And what's 6 divided by 2? 3. All right. So here I have to combine like terms. So what should I do first? Distribute. So negative 6k, what's negative 6 times negative 6? Positive 36 minus 4. I'm combining like terms, so I only have one k term, so it's negative 6k. And then I have to combine these two together. So 36 minus 4 would be 32. Number 7. Got to distribute first. So 1 plus 5 minus 5n. Need to combine like terms. So I have 1 plus 5, which would be 6. So 6 minus 5n. All right, number 9. So I take whatever in the parentheses here and plug it into my variable. So that would be negative 2. Plugging in negative 8 into t squared minus 2. What's negative 8 squared? So negative 8 times negative 8. 64. Good job, Miss Carver. What's 64 times negative 2? Awesome, negative 128. So now I have negative 128 minus 2, which would be negative 130. Any questions there? For number 11, I do the same thing. I take whatever's inside the parentheses here and plug it into my variable. So 2 times 9 plus 3. So I have to do multiplication first. 2 times 9 is 18. And 18 plus 3 would be 21. So for 13, I have to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given points. So slope-intercept form we said was y equals mx plus b. First thing I need to do is find the slope. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to plug that into my slope equation here, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So negative 3 minus negative 5 over 2 minus 5. Whenever you have minus a negative number, it becomes a plus. So this is negative 3 plus 5, which is 2. And 2 minus 5 would be negative 3. So I can plug that into my point slope form because I have a point and I have the slope, and then I can just rearrange my equation to be slope intercept. So point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So I have y minus, my y1 is negative 5, so it becomes a plus 5, is equal to 2 over negative 3 times x minus x1, which is 5. So I need this to be y equals. So I want to distribute. Distribute, distribute. So I have y plus 5 is equal to negative 2 over 3x, and then plus 10 over 3, because I multiplied the 2 times the 5 and 3 times 1. Then the last step is to move the 5 over, so I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. So I have y is equal to negative 2 over 3x. I have to combine these two together. So what do I need when I add fractions? Common denominator. So I'm going to make this 5 over 1, multiply the top and the bottom by 3. So this is now 15 over 3. So this becomes negative 5 over 3. And that would be my equation. All right, let's look at 15. What do I need to do first to solve for 15? Anybody? Distribute. So I have negative 12n minus 36. Everything else stays the same. Then I need to combine like terms. So since I'm moving it from one side of the equal sign to the other, I have to do the opposite. So since it's minus 12n, I'm going to add 12n to both sides. And I'm going to add 36 to both sides. So this becomes 6n is equal to negative 36 plus 36 is 0. So I have 6n is equal to 0. Then what should I do? Divide. So n is equal to what? 0. And that's it. All right, so 17, when we have absolute values, we split it up into two equations. So I have x minus 4 is equal to positive 10, and x minus 4 is equal to negative 10. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So x is equal to 14, and then add 4 to both sides. So x is equal to negative 6. So I have two answers here. So anytime you have absolute values, you get two answers. All right, let's do 18 also. So whenever you have an absolute value, you want to split it up into two equations. So I have negative 3b is equal to 3. Negative 3b is equal to negative 3. So we split it up into two. Then we just solve it regularly like we would. So divide by negative 3. So b is equal to negative 1. And then the other one, divide by negative 3. B is equal to 1. So these are our two answers here. All right, so 19. Solve each inequality and graph its solution. So again, since we have an absolute value equation here, we want to split it up into two equations. So we have negative 3p is less than 15, and negative 3p is less than negative 15. So solve just like we would if it were an equal sign. Divide both sides by negative 3. So p is less than negative 5. And then here we have to divide both sides by negative 3. So p is less than 5. So I'm going to put an open circle at negative 5 and an open circle at positive 5. Now my line's either going to go in between these 2 points or outside these 2 points. So I can plug in any number I want just to test to see if it's going to work in between or outside. So what's a number in between negative 5 and 5? 0. So let's plug in 0 and test it. So what's negative 3 times 0? 0. Is 0 less than 15? Yep. So in between works. So I would shade in between these two numbers. So our slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So our slope is our m, our y-intercept is our b. So we have y equals 1/5 x minus 2. and that's it. 23. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line. So two things we need. We need our slope and we need our y-intercept. What's our y-intercept here? Where do we cross the y-axis? 3. Awesome. So our y-intercept is 3. And then our slope, we can just pick 2 points and count our rise over run. So I'm going up 1, 2, 3. And then to the left, 1, 2, 3. So this would be -3. So my slope is 3 over -3, which simplifies to -1. So slope-intercept form would be y is equal to, my slope is -1, so -x plus 3. All right, next page. 25. So again, I need to put this into slope-intercept form, so get it to be y equals mx plus b. So since I have fractions here, I'm going to multiply everything times 3 to get rid of those fractions. So I have 3 minus y, because the 3's cancel, is equal to, the 3's cancel again here, so -4x. So I multiplied everything times 3. So I want it to be y equals, so I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. So I have -y is equal to -4x minus 3. I need it to be a positive y, so what can I do to make this a positive y? I can divide everything by -1. So I have y is equal to 4x plus 3. So I just change the signs of everything in my equation. All right, let's look at 27. Write the point-slope form of the equation. So point-slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So I have to plug in my point and my slope. So I have y minus, y1 is -3, so that becomes a plus 3, is equal to, the slope is 2, times x minus -1, so it becomes a plus 1. All right, 29. Write the point-slope form of the equation of the line. So I need my point and the slope. So first thing I have to do is find the slope. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug it into my slope formula. So I have 3 minus -1 over -4 minus 2. So this is 4 over -6. We can divide both of these by 2, so it becomes 2 over -3. And then I need to plug it into point-slope form. So that would be y minus y1, which is -1, so it becomes a plus 1, is equal to my slope, so -2 over 3, times x minus x1, which is 2. So that's my equation. Any questions? All right, 31. Write the standard form of the equation of each line. So that's a times x plus b times y equals c. So I need to rearrange this to be x, then y, then equals c. So I'm going to move my x to the other side, so subtract 10x, and I'm going to move my constant to the other side, so that 5 to the other side. So subtract 5. So I have -10x minus y is equal to -5. And that's standard form. So let's do 32 also. So I need this to be x, then y, then equals the number. So I'm going to subtract 3y on both sides and subtract 15. So 15 cancels, the y's cancel. So I have 21x minus 3y is equal to -15. let's look at 33. So write the point-slope form of the equation of the line. So point-slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So if my line is parallel to this equation, I'm looking at the slope in this equation, which is 4. If they're parallel, that means my slope in my new equation is going to be the same thing. So it's going to be 4. So then this is x1 and y1. So I have y minus 1 minus negative 1, so it becomes a plus 1, is equal to 4, which is my slope, times x minus negative 1, which becomes plus 1 again. So that is my point-slope form. So you just plug in your point and you plug in your slope. Since it's parallel, that means my slopes are going to be the same. All right, the last one we'll do for today is 34. So I'm plugging it into point-slope form. I need my slope, so my line's perpendicular to this one. Perpendicular means that we have opposite reciprocal slopes. So opposite means that it's going to be positive, and reciprocal means that it's now 3 over 1, which is just 3. So you flip it. And then we plug it in. So I have y minus y1, which is 3, is equal to m, which is 3, it's my new slope, times x minus x1, which is 2. So that's my equation. All right, so 35, we have to solve each system by substitution. So it already has y equals this for us, so we just take that and substitute it in for y. So everything else in our first equation stays the same. We have negative 15x minus 3. For y, we're plugging in this whole equation here. So negative 5x plus 8 is equal to negative 24. All right, so what do we need to do to solve for x from here? Distribute. So we distribute the negative 3. So negative 15x plus 15x. And then this would be minus 24. It's equal to negative 24. Now we need to combine like terms. So what's negative 15x plus 15x? 0. So these cancel out, it's just 0. So then we're left with negative 24 is equal to negative 24. Is this true? Yeah. So what do you think our answer is? Infinitely many solutions. Perfect. So if you ever get like a number is equal to the same number or 0 is equal to 0, your answer is infinitely many solutions. If we got like x is equal to a number, remember you have to go back and plug that in to find y. Any questions there? So 37. Here we have to solve by elimination. So elimination, we need the same number, but opposite, so they'll cancel. So if we had like negative 9x, we need a positive 9x, so then they'll cancel. Do we have the same number, but opposites here? No. But we can multiply the first equation by something to get it to be a positive 18. So what can I multiply to negative 9 to get a positive 18? 2. Negative 2. So I'm going to multiply everything here by negative 2. So my new first equation is going to be negative 6x plus 18y is equal to negative 48. Now I can combine them together. So negative 5x plus negative 6x is negative 11x. The y's cancel. And then what's 26 minus 48? Negative 22. And then what should I do next? Divide by negative 11. So x is equal to what? 2. And then how do I find y? Plug that in for x. So I'm going to plug it into the first equation. So 3 times 2 minus 9y is equal to 24. 3 times 2 is 6. Minus 9y is equal to 24. What should I do next? Subtract 6. So negative 9y is equal to 18. Thank you. And then what's next? Divide by negative 9. So what does y equal? Negative 2. So we would write our answer as 2 comma negative 2. So for 39, we just combine our two matrices, so we need to subtract. So what's 2 minus 5?
3.
Negative 3. What's negative 2 minus negative 4? So remember, minus a negative becomes plus 4, so it's negative 2 plus 4.
Negative 8. I mean, negative 6.
2. Negative 2 plus 4 would be 2. Then we have 4 minus negative 1, so that becomes a plus 1. So it's 4 plus 1. 5. Then we have 5 minus 1. 4. And 2 minus negative 1, that becomes a plus 1. So 2 plus 1? 3. And negative 2 minus 6?
4.
Negative 2 minus 6. Negative 8. Awesome. So just be careful with your signs here. If you need to, write it out. Write out what you're doing. So in the first spot, we would have 2 minus 5. So write it out so you can see it. All right, 41. We're multiplying, so just multiply 2 to everything here. So what's negative 5 times 2?
Negative 10.
Negative 10. 2 times 1? 2 times negative 2? And 2 times 4? Perfect. Any questions here? All right, 43. We're solving by elimination. So pick a variable that you want to eliminate right away. All right, let's pick x. Yes. So we have equation 1, 2, and 3. Which 2 do you want to combine first? 1 and 3, we can do that. So 2x plus 3y minus z is equal to 18. All right, what should I do next? Plug 4 into z. So I have 6y minus 5 times 4 is equal to 4. So 6y minus 20 equals 4. Add 20 to both sides. 6y is equal to 24. Divide by 6. Y is equal to 4. So I have z and I have y. How do I find x? Plug it into one of the originals. So I'm going to plug it into 3. So I have negative 2. Negative 2x, which we don't know yet, minus 3y, which is 4, plus 4 times 4 is equal to negative 6. So negative 2x minus 12 plus 16 is equal to negative 6. Negative 2x plus 4 is equal to negative 6. Subtract 4. Negative 2x is equal to negative 10 when he comes back. After Ian. What do I do next?
Divide by negative 2 on both sides.
Divide both sides by negative 2. So what does x equal?
5.
5. So we have to solve each system by substitution. So this is when we start with the one variable, move to the 2, and then plug it into the 3. So we're going to start with x is equal to 1. We plug it into the equation with 2 variables, so that would be the first one. So we have negative 2 times 1 plus 4y is equal to negative 6. Then from here we just have to solve for y. So what should I do first? I need to multiply, so this would be negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2, plus 4y is equal to negative 6. Then we add 2 to both sides, so it'll cancel out. 4y is equal to negative 4. Divide by 4. Y is equal to negative 1. So I have x is equal to 1 and y is equal to negative 1 now. So I can plug both of these into the equation with 3 variables. So once you have 2 variables, you can plug it into the 3 variable equation. So I have negative 4 times 1 minus 4 times negative 1 minus 2z is equal to negative 4. And then from here, we multiply. So we have negative 4 plus 4 minus 2z equals negative 4. Negative 4 plus 4 cancels. So negative 2z is equal to negative 4. And divide both sides by negative 2. So z is equal to 2. And then we write our answer as 1, negative 1, 2. So x, y, then z. All right, let's go to the next. 45. So here we just have to identify our transformations. What does this negative do? Reflection. What about the 2? Stretch. What about minus 4? Right 4. And plus 2? Up 2. Awesome. 47. We have to find the vertex, axis of symmetry, max or min, domain, and range. So we start by finding our axis of symmetry, which we use this formula. So we have negative b over 2a. This is a, b, and c. So we have negative 8 over 2 times negative 1. So it would be positive 8 over negative 2. And what's 8 divided by negative 2? Negative 4. So my axis of symmetry is x is equal to negative 4. So what's the first number in my vertex? Negative 4. Same thing as my axis of symmetry. How do I find the second number? Plug it in. So I have negative 4 squared minus 8 times negative 4 minus 13. So this would be negative 4 squared is 16, so negative 16 plus 32 minus 13. So 16 minus 13 would be 3. Does my graph here open up or open down? It opens down because my A is negative, so that means it opens down. So is my vertex at the maximum or minimum? It is at the maximum. And what's my maximum value? 3. And then what's my domain? Domain is always all real numbers. And what's my range? Awesome. It's negative infinity to 3 because you repeat your y for your range. So negative infinity to 3. Any questions here? So this we did in that last test that we took, the last chapter, chapter 4. So we want to start by sketching our y-intercept. What's our y-intercept here? 5. It's always whatever's the plus. Remember, it's y equals mx plus b. So your b is your y-intercept. So first thing we're going to do is put a point at 5 on the y-axis. What's the slope? Awesome, negative 3 over 2. This is our slope. What's in front of the x? So remember, slope is rise over run. So negative 3 means I go down 3 and to the right 2. And then just connect your points. So in graphing, you always want to get your equation to be y equals mx plus b. So sometimes you may have to rearrange it, because that way you can clearly see what your y-intercept is and what your slope is. So for 51, it's not in y equals mx plus b, so what can I do to get it into that form? Subtract the x, perfect. So if negative 5y is equal to negative x minus 5, and what else can I do? Divide everything by negative 5. So I have y equals 1 over 5x plus 1. So what's my y-intercept? Positive 1. So I'm going to put a point at 1 on my y-axis. And what's my slope? 1 over 5. So I'm going to go up 1 to the right 5. There's my second point. Once you have 2 points, just connect the dots. So let's do 52 also. So first thing we want to do is get it into y equals mx plus b form. Bless you. So what do I need to do? Subtract x. So I have negative 4y is equal to negative x minus 12. And then what should I do? Divide everything by negative 4. So I get y is equal to 1 over 4x. Awesome, plus 3. So what's my y-intercept? 3. So I'm going to put a point at 3 on my y-axis. And what is my slope? 1 over 4. So I'm going to go up 1 to the right 4, because it's rise over run. And then just connect your 2 dots. All right, 53. So we're doing the same thing here, but we just have 2 equations that we have to graph. So in the first equation, what's my y-intercept? Negative 1. So I'm going to put a point at negative 1 on the y-axis. And what's my slope? Negative 1. So it's negative 1 over 1. So I'm going to go down 1 to the right 1. And then just connect your 2 points. And then next, I have to graph this. So it's x is equal to 2. So I go to where x is 2, put a point there, and then just put a line right through it. When you're solving here, where they intersect is your answer. So my answer would be 2, comma, negative 3. Because it's the x, then the y. So inequalities means that we shade. So we graph it the same way, it just means we have to do that one extra step of shading. So what's my y-intercept here? 5, so I'm going to put a point at 5. And what's my slope? Negative 10 over 1. So that means I'm going to go down 10 to the right 1. So that's my line. Is it a solid line or dotted line here? It's a dotted line because we don't have that equal to on the bottom. So we have a dotted line.
I thought that dotted is when it's equal to.
Nope, solid's when it's equal to. So just think about it like when you have the line under the inequality, that means that you have a solid line. All right, and last thing we need to do is shade. So how do I know where I'm going to shade?
Putting 0 for y and x.
Awesome, we can plug in 0, 0. So we're plugging in 0 for x and y. So 0 is greater than negative 10 times 0 plus 5. So 0 is greater than 5. Is this true? No. So do I shade where 0, 0 is? No, I shade where it's not. So that would be on the right side. All right, so 57, we have an absolute value equation. So that means our graph is going to look like a V. So we need to plug in numbers for x and get numbers for y. And we always want to plug in whatever the opposite of this number is. So if that's +1, our middle number that we're going to plug in should be -1. And then we want to plug in one smaller and one bigger. So we can plug in -2 and 0. So if I plug in -2, I have the absolute value of -2 plus 1 minus 2. So this should be the absolute value of -1. And what's the absolute value of -1? +1. And what's 1 minus 2? -1. 1 minus 2. So I plugged in -2 and got -1. So I'm going to put my first point, -2, -1. Then I'm going to plug in -1. So I have the absolute value of -1 plus 1 minus 2. -1 plus 1 is 0. And 0 minus 2 is -2. So I plugged in -1 and got -2. So go to the left to -1, down to -2. And then we plug in 0. I have the absolute value of 0 plus 1 minus 2. So 0 plus 1 is 1. And 1 minus 2 would be -1. So I plugged in 0 and got -1. So I'm going to stay on 0, go down to -1. And then my graph has a V shape. So 59. These we solve the same way if they're in the y equals mx plus b form. But we just have to shade, and when you have two equations, it's wherever the shading overlaps. So in the first equation, what's my y-intercept? -1, so I'm going to put a point at -1. And what's my slope? -4/3. So I'm going to go down 4 to the right 3. Do I connect these with a solid line or dotted line? Dotted. And then I need to figure out where I'm going to shade. So what can I plug in? 0, 0. So I have 0 is less than -4/3 times 0 minus 1. So 0 is less than -1. Is this true? No. Yeah, it is. No, it's not true. -1 smaller. So it's not true. Do I shade where 0, 0 is? Where it's not. Where it's not. So that would be down below. So then for the second one, where's my y-intercept? 2. So I put a point on my y-axis at 2. And what's my slope? -1/3. So I go down 1 to the right 3. Put a point there. Do I connect these points with a solid line or dotted line? Dotted. And then now let's figure out where I shade. What can I plug in? 0, 0. So I have 0 is greater than -1/3 times 0 plus 2. 0 is greater than 2. Is this true? No. So do I shade where 0, 0 is or where it's not? Where it's not. So that would be up here. Do I have any parts of this graph that overlaps? Any parts of the shading? Do the oh yeah, it does overlap. Because this would keep being shaded up here. So it would kind of overlap a little bit there. Any questions with this one? All right, 61. sketch the graph of each function. So first thing we can do is find where our vertex is, since this is in vertex form. So what's my vertex here? -2, no, you switch the sign of the first one, so it'd be +2, -2, because you switch the sign of your h. So it's h and k, what you're adding on the inside and what you're adding on the outside, but you have to switch the sign of h. So we go to the right 2, down 2. So there's our vertex. And then how can I find another point on my graph? I can plug in 0. So I have -2 times 0 minus 2 squared minus 2. So it's 0 minus 2? -2. And what's -2 squared? 4. Perfect, because it's -2 times -2, so that's 4. So then I have -2 times 4. What's -2 times 4? -8, and then -8 minus 2? -10. So I plugged in 0 and got -10. So I'm going to stay on 0, go down to -10. So I have a point there. Do I know where another point's going to be? Same thing on the other side, the reflection of it. And then I can just draw my U. Because remember, parabolas are U-shaped. So always start with your vertex. It's what you're adding inside, what you're adding outside, but you have to change the sign of your H. And then plug in another number to find what your graph is going to look like.